Peter. Welcome to the A Game podcast. Thanks for making the time today.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, of course, of course. Supply chain has been a hot topic recently, actually in the last couple of years. And so you're one of the topmost experts I know. So I thought that, well, today we can have a conversation about current events, what's likely to happen, and what's going to affect the M&A in this sector.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that.
So,
It,
so the first question for you is, I don't know how closely you've been following the process. I know you're in Canada, but we just had an election. Which is going to dramatically alter the trajectory of a lot of things, and supply chain being one of those. So how do you see, things in the context of the election results in the US?
Absolutely no good point. I'll say that even though we're based in Toronto, Canada, there's an old adage that goes around: if the U.S. sneezes, Canada catches the cold. So we're dramatically affected by anything that happens in the U.S., whether it's domestic or international policies, doesn't matter. So we're part of the big picture with the U.S., whether it's trade or anything else. So, uh,
Sure.
uh,
And you're
from
doing
everything,
deals in the US too, I'm assuming, right?
the majority of our transactions are U.S. based, and U.S. clients are based, obviously in there. So we have a lot of interactions in the U.S. market, all different markets: Northeast, Southeast, Central, Midwest, Texas, California, East Coast, everywhere else. We're pretty involved in all geographies in the U.S. too. So we have to be eh, cognizant of everything that's going on, from state by state interactions all the way to the federal level. So we're fairly involved.
Nice.
But yeah, on the U.S. election side of things, uh, a lot of our clients in the states see a positive impact of the Republicans coming into power, with a shift of change, being more business focused, less called red tape from you know, various aspects of the trucking, warehousing, logistics industries. And a lot of people see a lot of growth opportunities with the incoming administration. Obviously, there's going to be nuances with every different position within the new administration and different departments. But call it across the board, we've seen a lot of our clients, both buy and sell side, being quite positive about the outcome of the U.S. election. I think even from a popular or population perspective, the majority of the Americans voted for Donald Trump and the GOP to get elected, and there's obviously reasons for that, and that's why a lot of people have decided to pick them. And I think from an economic standpoint, capital market standpoint, uh, flow of capital, I think it's going to be positive, and especially as interest rates continue to come down, as it leads to the new administration coming in January 20th, 2025, that there's going to be a real lift in, the area that we focused on, which is supply chain. And because there has been a freight recession really, from 2020, you know, two all the way till present, it's been one of the longest freight recessions, or actually the longest freight recession in modern history. So coming out of that, especially with a very pro-business, uh, access to capital governance coming in, I think that's exciting a lot of people in this industry for sure.
Sure. And when it comes to this sector, obviously that's the only thing you do, and you have a lot of expertise. Now, is that so? We understand that companies, come to you for your expertise, but from buyers, the private equity firms focused on this or other corporate buyers. So, how do they see you? What do they see in you? Do they see you as the expert that is going to, get these things done? It's going to bring you interesting deals. How does that work?
Absolutely. I think with any sector, and I'll speak specifically about us in a second, but from a macro perspective, um, any sector, it's anybody you hire, you want to make sure that they understand the space that they're in. And I think, from anybody willing to spend money to hire us or any other investment banking team to find various opportunities, they can make sure that person is specialized in the field that they're interested in. And, what we do in our specialization is in the supply chain. So that's asset-based trucking, that's non-asset-based logistics, that warehousing distribution companies, that transportation data and tech companies. encompassing all those things, but we have a specialization in that. And where that comes from is the majority of my staff out of over, I think we're close to 24 of us now. The majority of us, 15 plus of us, are from the transportation logistics industry of both Canada and the US. And with that in mind, we're able to understand the spaces that we're in dramatically more than people that have never stepped foot in this industry. So being able to, interact in the spaces that we've lived in makes us more understanding of the various situations that our client, whether buy or sell side, are in. I think that gives us a lot more, call it knowledge base that helps us perform better than similar peers of ours. And we've had numerous instances where we come up against big banks like Bank of America, Citibank, or Goldman Sachs, where we've competed against them um, unknowingly, but found out later on that we have, and that we won mandate because of our industry expertise and our knowledge in that space. It's kind of unique from a sector specialist that's we're a boutique firm that has sub 25 employees, but because of our knowledge base is so strong, and that's from our employees working in trucking companies, working logistics companies, being VPs of finance in various entities, as well as having the financial knowledge, that gives us presumably the added leg ahead of any of our competition because we can speak that language. And because the majority of our clients are strategic, both public and privately held strategic, that they want us to have that expertise. And our clients often want to learn from us too. And that doesn't just mean strategic as well, but private equity, venture cap, family offices. If they want to get into this space, they want the correct knowledge base to make sure that the decisions that are being made to get them to enter that space are accurate. So that's where a lot of people often find us, is because of our industry expertise. We're often in various publications from, Freight Waves, Today's Trucking, Truck News, Transport Topic, DCJ, and other publications like that because of that industry expertise. And I think that again, that's our force multiplier. It's being from the industry and now working on it is really what makes us, kind of multiple, feet above our competition, if you will.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. So you're saying that it's not necessarily a private equity buyer who is looking specifically for a certain type of company, but you also have the ability to influence their thinking where you know more about this sector than they do. So you may be able to guide them about, okay, what they should be looking for. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So there's, you know, anytime you hire an expert, you're basically buying into their intellectual capital, and their intellectual capital will include, qualitative items, but also quantitative things too. So it's understanding the type of business that they might originally be looking for might not be really what they truly want, right? So it's our
Right.
job as that somebody's hiring us from the buyer's perspective to help suss out what they're really looking for, to make sure that when they make a splash in the space that they want to get into, that's the right space, right? So it's people hire us for our expertise, truly knowing what our clients really want to get into. And we've come across various instances with clients looking to get into trucking, but realizing that they want to get into non-asset based logistics, or
Mm.
people wanting to get into non-asset based logistics that want to get into actually warehousing, right? So for us, it's making sure that them having the correct knowledge that allows them to make the right decisions of the right businesses that they want to look into. Then our job is to help find those businesses obviously for them, but we want to make sure that their path is as accurate as possible and that it's true to what they really want to be into, not what kind of outside factors might think that they want to be into. Right. That's really
Yeah,
what
that's very
our goal
interesting.
is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. So, by the way, beating Goldman Sachs on a deal must feel very good, I'm sure, for the firm. But that surprises me a little bit because you would assume that Goldman would have all kinds of expertise in every imaginable sector, and supply chain is are the key sectors. So you're saying that they don't have that level of expertise that you bring to the table in this sector?
I think that, somebody like a Goldman Sachs that is a behemoth, like we look up to them and, obviously as somebody that's in this space, like they're the gold standard, right? And, for us to be able to compete against, um, various mandates is pretty awesome. So we really appreciate that and respect them and what they do. I think a lot of times when large, firms go and pitch on various projects, that their industry experts that go in might have, intrinsic knowledge from, you know, understanding the industry post university or post college and, have a good understanding of the space, but have never lived and breathed it. I think that's where our force multiplier comes in as a business. The majority of our staff has lived and breathed in transportation. We have some of our staff that have are third or fourth generation transportation company owners that their family ended up selling to businesses. But equally, they've been through M&A processes of buying businesses before they sold. So now we have the intrinsic knowledge of being through M&A, but coupled with being through M&A in transportation as well. And that's very hard for somebody to have, you know, been in a lived through experience like that, whatever bank it is, whether it's Goldman Sachs or anybody else. So I think having those intrinsic knowledge bases with our employees allows us to get into places that Goldman or other, massive, gold standard firms like that, or platinum standard firms like that, um, it's harder to get into. And, for us, we're not selling our per se investment banking knowledge like that's math, um, and understanding finance. It's selling our expertise in the space. And it's very hard to compete against that when, we have the majority of a team that have lived and breathed transportation logistics in the supply chain industry versus somebody that's never been lived through that experience. Right. So that's
Sure.
very
No,
different.
very, very interesting. No, I think I can understand. So the knowledge base that you have after years of doing this, uh, I have a question on that. So obviously you have the experience and there is no substitute for, having done it 17 times. And so knowledge that you get from there. But what about the ongoing intelligence that you still have to gather about what's going on and where should you focus your efforts and so much going on in all these markets and trying to figure out, okay, so the buyers, what is their interest levels going to be? Where do you educate them? How do I find out, okay, what next to pitch to a potential buyer? So all this intelligence, how much of that you think plays a role in what makes you so effective?
Yeah, I think, it starts really from our, call it our team dynamic. As part of our business, we've got, our own research department. So we have 3 and sometimes scale up to 4 researchers that are full time that all they do is find, you know, information that helps us make the best decisions. And that's information that we use for our clients, for outreach, for, buy and sell clients, and all different entities that we look towards for marketing, et cetera. So really having our own in-house research department that fully knows transportation logistics definitely gives us that added edge, and allows us to make informed decisions. But it's also informed decisions that we're able to share with our clients, right? We have the data, we have the information to be able to, assemble what we need to look at, and equally, it's our researchers obviously need, to be great at what they do, but they need also to use technology, and that's where the biggest piece comes into play. Is having intrinsic knowledge in the space, which they do, but also using technology that helps amplify that, right? And we obviously use various different entities from our software piece that we use with Navatar, which is Salesforce bolt-on, but also we use other other IT services and tech services from AI enabled software in order to help, exponentially multiply our team that gives us the information that we need to be able to use with our clients. And we work with several, like one of our clients from a consulting perspective, the majority of what we do is M&A. We have one of our clients that's one of the big bank. Um, can't name it, but it's a big bank, and we supply them with intrinsic data and knowledge in this space that they use for their lending, borrowing practices within their bank. And that's one of the, you know, one of the unique things. They could create their own department, but they decide to hire us to help give them the knowledge that they can make really informed decisions when they're working with potentially new clients across their board in the US and Canada.
Very interesting. And by the way, so you mentioned the U.S. markets and how entrenched you are in the U.S. and Canada, obviously. But do you have also a global footprint outside of Americas?
Yeah, absolutely. No, good question. And the great thing is when we originally started, we started off on call it a micro standpoint, started in Canada, expanded because our clients wanted us to the United States because of call it North America is pretty intertwined, doing transactions in the US and Mexico. So we're North America focused. But we've now been asked for some of our clients the same thing to be able to build into other areas across the globe, which again, it ties into the supply chain that's a global, really a truly global industry. And for us, our clients are asking us to do work abroad outside of North America into South America, Central America, Europe, and Asia. So we're seeing a lot of growth into those areas too for us. And the great thing is having a very multicultural team as part of our group here that we speak, I think, 13 languages between all of us here. So we're very averse, we're very knowledgeable in multiple different languages, multiple different cultures, and which helps us be able to expand from call it a global context. And now it's client specific. When our clients hire us, they might look at North America, start to look at other places around the world. So it's been a pretty great experience. And as our clients grow, we do as well too. And we're happy to be along for the ride with them as they continue to grow with us.
And what advice would you have for investors that are in Europe or Asia looking to invest in the US market? If they don't know the market really well, what would be your advice to?
I think the most important advice is to talk to people that know the space first, right? If they don't understand the market, find somebody that does. Whether I would love to say it's us, but if it's not us, find somebody that does know it, or reach out to us. And it's really educating yourself on the space before you decide to jump head on into the market, and finding the correct sector expert and that has the deep intrinsic knowledge in the space will help shape whether you should or shouldn't get into the market. And that's something I'll tell you that we do is often when people reach out to us, you know, for us, it's about giving the right answer, not the right answer for us. And oftentimes we've come across where people have outreach to us from Europe and Asia looking to get into various markets within the United States. And we've told them that it's probably not the best time because of X, Y, or Z, because of, let's say, the freight recession or because of this state has different regulations. So often the advice we give isn't to the benefit of us. It's really to make sure that the knowledge that we're giving our potential future clients is accurate. So that way they know next time if they decide to come back to look at North America, that they're going to want to hire us because we're giving them information that benefits them, not just us.
Sure, sure. And, you mentioned that and by the way, thanks again for making time today because you're in the middle of closing a deal and that's supposed to close today.
Yeah.
And so good luck with that. But just in terms of closing these deals, in a timely fashion. So what's the typical time frame that you've noticed that these deals take to close in this sector, or does it vary by subset?
Yeah, good question. You know what? Each subsector varies, but we tell any seller when they come to us that it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months to close a transaction. And same thing on the buy side too. It takes us like 2 or 3 months to build up a pipeline to look at all the targets that we're outreaching to, and then to get another 1 or 2 months to find the correct targets that our clients like, and then to transact. Call it from a diligence perspective, takes anywhere from 90 to 120 days. That's something I'll definitely for anybody listening to take note is anybody looking to do M&A. Something always to note is deals take longer than everyone expects. And that's because of so many different factors from lawyers to accountants to regulations to environmental to real estate to customers to employees. It's very complex. And because of the current market after COVID, the COVID bubble burst from the freight perspective, banks are a lot more cautious on borrowing money out to do M&A transactions. And when they're more cautious, they want to make sure that there's more information to make sure that they or lend money out for the right transaction. So that often means longer and more detailed due diligence. So when somebody's doing a transaction, assume it's going to take longer than what you initially think, always from the get go. That might not be, exponentially longer. So if it's typically 90 days to close a transaction, it might be, call it 120 days or 100 days. So just expect that something will always take a little bit longer just in the current environment. But it's typically call it 8 to 12 months is something to expect from start to finish. on a first transaction.
Okay. And before we leave, any other message you would like to send to your audience, which is, either the businesses that are looking to transact or maybe, the market we talk to all the time, which is private equity firms or even some strategic buyers?
Absolutely. Well, I'd say, the supply chain industry is a great sector to be in. It's ripe for consolidation. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of transportation logistics companies throughout North America. And there's great opportunities in the space with nearshoring going on from bringing things from Asia to North America, and with some of the new approaches to the new governance coming in, that I think there'll be a lot more growth in North America from a global supply chain industry. So I think it's a very wise area for any investor, private equity, venture cap, family offices to look at the space, because there's going to be a fairly large growth trajectory in, the next 4 years, especially after the end of this down cycle. So looking at cyclicalities of this industry, the bottom of the freight recession has been kind of projected as being this past summer, and call it from a lot of perspectives and metrics, we're just getting out of that freight recession. So it's a great time to get in at the bottom as soon as it starts to go up. So from anybody looking in this space, great time is now over the next, call it 6 to 8 months, to get into this market. So if anybody wants to talk about supply chain, we're here to talk.
Excellent. So thanks again for making the time. And good luck with the closing today. Always a pleasure speaking to you, Peter. So we're going to be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care. Bye.